Hey there, friends. Today I'm going to be reading a chapter book. A chapter book is kind of a longer book. It has less pictures and a lot more words. The chapter book I'm going to read today is by Barbara Park, illustrated by Denise Brunkus. So Barbara Park wrote the words, Denise Brunkus drew some of the pictures that are in this. This book is called Junie B Jones is a Graduation Girl. I figured I would read this since it's getting close to the end of the school year for a lot of friends, and a lot of you might be doing something called a graduation at the end of the year. A graduation is kind of like a party or a celebration. You sometimes might wear an outfit like this. You might get a piece of paper that says, yay, you graduated, and it means that you get to go into the next grade. So if you're in kindergarten, you would go to first grade. If you're in first grade, you would go to second, and so on. And so at the end of each year, you would graduate like Junie B here. Here's the table of contents. This tells us all the different chapters that this book has. This book has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 different chapters. And right here on this side, these numbers will show you what page you can turn to get to that chapter in case you lose your place. So it says, the first chapter is called The Month of Junie, and it starts on page 1. The second chapter is titled Rhymes, and it starts on page 9. So if I've already read chapter 1 and I wanted to find chapter 2 really easily, I could just look at this contents and flip to page number 9, and I would be there. But since we haven't read any of this, we'll start on page 1. Chapter 1, The Month of Junie. My name is Junie B Jones. The B stands for Beatrice, except I don't like Beatrice. I just like B, and that's all. I was named after the month of Junie, because Junie is the month I was born in, of course. Is Junie a month? No, I think she's thinking of June. You guys are right. But she's calling it Junie because her name is Junie. And wait till you hear this. Yesterday, I finally had my birthday. And now I am 6 years old. The day was like magic, I tell you. So look, here's her celebrating her birthday. She's got her presents and a card. She's eating cake and wearing a hat. Do some of you guys ever have birthday parties like this? Or have you ever been to a birthday party like this? Me too. Because on Saturday night, when I went to bed, I was only 5 years old. And the next morning, boom, I was 6. My grandma, Helen Miller, had a happy birthday party for me. She invited my mother and daddy and my grandpa, Frank Miller. Also, she invited my baby brother named Ollie. He is 7 months old. He did not add that much. I love my party a very lot. First, I love my chocolatey cake with white icing. Next, I loved my strawberry ice cream. Plus also, I love my balloons and my funny birthday hats and all my happy birthday cards. But mostly, I loved my presents. I got 5 entire boxes to open. And good news, none of them was clothes. Mostly, I got toys and games. Also, I got a tool belt just my size. Plus, my Grandpa Miller gave me my very own plumbing supplies to help fix the toilet. But that is not even the end of all my excitement, because that night when Mother tucked me into bed, she reminded me that I am graduating from kindergarten on Friday. My stomach felt jumpy inside when she said that. I quick counted on my fingers. But Friday is only 5 more days, I said. I did a gulp. That event sneaked right up on us, didn't it? I was kind of nervous. Mother hugged me. You're not worried, are you, Junie B? She asked. Graduation will be fun. I promise. You're going to love first grade. But Polly Allen Puffer says that next year everything will be different. I said, he says that first grade won't have the same kids as room 9 does. And so all of our classmates will be weirdo strangers. So here's Junie B's mom. She's tucking her into bed and she's hugging her because she said her tummy felt jumpy. She's a little nervous, maybe a little scared feeling about graduation and going to first grade because it's different. It's okay to be a little nervous when things like that happen. Mother did a frown. No, 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 that's not true, she said. I'm sure you'll know a lot of children in your class next year, Junie B. But even if your best friends aren't in your room, you will still be able to play with them at recess, right? Yeah, I guess so, I said. Plus, Polly Ellen Puffer says that we will be the boss of all the kindergarten kids. So that will be fun, probably. And also he says our brains and our feet will double in size. Mother stared at me a real long time. That Polly Ellen Puffer is a fountain of knowledge, she said very quiet. After that, we talked some more about graduation in first grade. And guess what? The next day at school, my teacher talked about it even more. Her name is Mrs. She has another name too, but I just like Mrs., and that's all. Mrs. clapped her hands real happy. Well, this is it, boys and girls, she said. Graduation week is finally here. At 7 o'clock on Friday evening, Room 8 and Room 9 will have our graduation ceremony together. And of course, the children in morning kindergarten will be graduating too. So every single one of you will receive a diploma. I springed out of my chair very thrilled. A diploma, a diploma! I will love a diploma, I shouted. Just then I did a teensy frown. It's not clothes, correct? I asked. A meanie boy named Jim laughed real loud. Ha, you Junie B Jones. You don't even know what a diploma is, he said. I stamped my foot at that boy. Oh, yes, I do too, Jim, I said. I know perfectly well what it is, but I am not even the teacher here, and so I will let her explain it to the class. I sat down and smoothed my skirt, then I pointed to Mrs. Okay, go, I said. Mrs. wrinkled her eyebrows at me. As I was about to say, a diploma is a very special piece of paper. A diploma is a certificate that says you've completed part of your education. As you go through school, you'll get several diplomas, she said, but this one will be your first. I springed up again. And guess what else, Mrs.? I am not even afraid of first grade anymore, because I'll be getting big feet and brains. Mrs. said, sit down, to me. Then she told us more about graduation. She said that as a treat for our families, we will be making them special graduation invitations, and so that will be our activity for the day. Yippee, I said. I love making invitations, Mrs., on account of that does not even sound like learning. After that, I clapped, and all of Room 9 clapped with me, because graduation week was starting off like a charm. Chapter 2, Rhymes. So we finished the first chapter, so now we're in the second chapter. And the chapters just help us to break the book up and make it a little easier to read. Especially if you can't sit and read it all in one go, you can put it down and remember what chapter you're on and then come back to it later. So let's continue. I sat at my table very nice. Mrs. passed out colored paper for our invitations. Also, she passed out curly ribbon and lace and paste and bottles of sparkly glitter. Just as a reminder, she said, we do not paste glitter in our eyebrows. And we do not put lace up our noses. And above all, we do not glue curly ribbon to our heads and pretend that it is long hair. She looked and looked at me. I squirmed in my seat a little bit, because that woman has a memory like a hawk, I tell you. So do you think maybe she was saying those things because maybe Junie B might have done some of those things before during art, instead of using the art supplies like she was supposed to? Finally, Mrs. went to the board and she picked up her chalk. On the inside of our cards, we're going to write a poem about graduation. Does anyone have any ideas for the first line? My friend Grace waved her hand all around in the air. Roses are red, roses are red, she called out. Yes, hollered Room 9, roses are red. Mrs. smiled, wrote it on the board for us. Okay, now what about the second line? She asked. Room 9 hollered again. Violets are blue, violets are blue, violets are blue. Mrs. wrote that line too. Very good, class, she said. Now who can think of the third line? Maybe we should try to mention something about graduation in this one. Does anybody have any ideas? A shy boy named William stood up next to his table. Graduation is here, he said, kind of nervous. Mrs. grinned really big. Excellent job, William. Excellent. She printed it on the board. All right, there's just one more line to go, she said. Let's try to make the last word rhyme with the word blue, okay? She read the first 3 lines out loud to us. Roses are red, violets are blue, graduation is here. Room 9 thought and thought. Then all of a sudden, rhymes started coming from all over the place. My dress will be new, called Lucille. My dad's name is Lou, called Jamal Hall. We made it, woohoo, called Lenny. Just then, Polly Allen Puffer springed right out of his chair, and he started laughing his head off. The zoo is P.U., he shouted his loudest. And then all of room 9 laughed our heads off too, because P.U. is the silliest rhyme we ever heard of. Mrs. clapped her mad hands together. Boys and girls, that's enough, she grouched. She hurried to Polly Allen Puffer's table, and she put him back in his seat. I do not appreciate that kind of behavior, young man, she said. We're trying to write a nice class poem here, Polly Allen, and your rhyme was entirely inappropriate. After that, I tried to stop giggling, but that silly poem kept on staying inside my head. And then out of nowhere, another funny poem popped right into my brain, and I couldn't even hold it inside me. I quickly jumped up on my chair. Roses are red, violets are blue, graduation is here, and your feet smell like stink, I shouted. After that, room 9 could not even control themselves again, because that poem was the funniest thing they ever even heard. My teacher's eyes got big and wide at me. Junie B Jones, didn't you hear a word I just said? She said, very annoyed. Then she hurried to my table, and she took me into the hall, and she pointed me straight to the office. Oh no. So I guess Junie B got in some trouble, didn't she? Chapter 3, A Good Chuckle. The office is where Principal lives. I know my way there by heart. There's a typing lady there too. She looked over the counter at me. Well, 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 would you look who it is, she said. I looked down at myself. Well, 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 it looks like me, I said kind of quiet. The typing lady pointed at the blue chair. The blue chair is where bad kids sit. Only I'm not even bad, but I still have to sit there sometimes. I put my feet on the edge of the chair, and I hid my face in my knees. If you don't hide your face, people can recognize yourself. Finally, I peeked one eye at Principal's door, and guess what? That guy was looking right back at me. Is that Junie B Jones I see out there? He asked. I did a gasp. 'Cause Principal can even recognize me from one eyeball, apparently. I went into his office, and I sat in the big wood chair. Principal winked at me. I'm a little bit surprised to see you, Junie B, he said. You haven't been sent here for quite some time. I nodded. I know it, I said. That's because my behavior has shown considerable improvement, which means she's just done a lot better. I pronounced the words very perfect. My teacher printed those words on my report card, I said, and guess what else showed improvement? My speaking, that's what, because I don't say runned anymore, and I don't say thinked, and I don't say throwed. Do you want to hear me say them right, huh? Do you, Principal? I took a big breath. Ran, ran, ran. Thought, thought, thought. Through, I said. I smiled, very proud. See, I told you. Mother says I am getting a better vocabulary, I said. Vocabulary, said Principal. Whatever, I said. Principal smiled. Yes, well, I'm delighted with your improvements, Junie B, he said. But if everything has gotten better, then why are you here? I wiggled in my chair, very uncomfortable. Because it wasn't my fault, that's why, I said. What wasn't your fault? Said Principal. I wiggled some more. Then finally I told Principal about how my teacher made us write a graduation poem and how she said the last word had to rhyme with blue. And so Polly Allen Puffer rhymed the word P-U, I said. But then Mrs. got very mad at him because she did not appreciate his behavior, young man. Only too bad for me because my brain thought of an even sillier poem and my mouth just couldn't hold it inside. Principal closed his eyes. He did some deep breaths. All right, he said. Let's hear it. I gulped, very worried. Then I made my voice real soft. Roses are red. Violets are are blue. Graduation is here. And your feet smell like stink, I said. After that, Principal kept his eyes closed a real long time, and he did not say any words. Then, very slow, he put his head down on his desk, and he started to laugh. His laughing got louder and louder, and so guess what? Then I started laughing too. That poem was a beaut, right, Principal? We are having ourselves a good chuckle over this, aren't we? Principal stopped laughing very fast. He raised his head again. No, Junie B, no, we are not having a good chuckle, he said. I'm sorry, your poem just caught me completely by surprise, but I never should have laughed like that. He crossed his arms at me. You are right about one thing, though, he said. Your poem is definitely silly. But silly things are not always appropriate to say in the classroom, are they? Your teacher made it clear that she didn't like what Polly Allen had said, but you called out your poem anyway. He made squinty eyes. And please, don't blame it on your mouth. Okay? You know you could have held it inside. I shrugged my shoulders. So there's the principal and Junie B having a good chuckle about her poem. I don't know, I said kind of quiet. Maybe I could have. Principal tapped his fingers on his desk. It's a very serious matter to disobey a teacher, Junie B, he said, and I want you to sit here and think about just how serious it is. Can you do that, please? Yes, I said, I can. After that, I squeezed my eyes real tight, and I thought. Finally, I opened my eyes again. Good news, I said. I've said my last stink. Principal nodded his head. That is good news, he said. Then he stood up, and he held my hand, and he walked me into the hall. It's been an interesting year getting to know you, Junie B Jones, he said. You're a fascinating little girl. Thank you, I said. You are fascinating, too. After that, both of us waved goodbye, and I started skipping back to room 9. Then all of a sudden, I stopped, and I spun around. Yeah, only we're not saying goodbye forever. Right, Principal? Right? 'Cause next year I will get sent down here, too, probably. Or else maybe you and I will see each other on the playground? Right? Principal did a chuckle. Right, he said. Hooray, I said. Hooray, hooray. Then I turned back around and I skipped to room 9 my fastest, 'cause maybe if I hurried, I could still sprinkle some glitter on something. Chapter 4, Cats and Gowns. I skipped in the door of room 9, then my whole face got happy, 'cause guess who was talking to my teacher? It was Gus. Gus Valoni, that's who, and Gus Valoni is my favorite janitor. I zoomed right over to that guy. Gus Valoni, it's a joy to see you, I said. And so what brings you here, anyway? Gus Valoni patted my head. I had an important delivery to make, sis, he said. Just then my bestest friend Lucille came running up to me. She pointed to a big stack of boxes. It's cats and gowns, Junie B, she shouted. Gus Valoni brought us cats and gowns. She twirled me all around. I heard him talking to the teacher. The cats and gowns are right in there in those boxes. Everyone is getting one for graduation, she said. I jumped up and down at that wonderful news. 'Cause who doesn't love cats? That's what I would like to know. Cats and gowns, I hollered. Cats and gowns, hollered room 9. Mrs. sat down in her chair real slow. Then Gus Valoni patted her shoulder and he said the word, good luck. Mrs. said for room 9 to please stop shouting. I'm sorry, boys and girls, but Lucille did not hear me correctly, she said. No one in room 9 is getting a cat and gown for graduation. Room 9 did a loud groan. Then what are we getting exactly? I asked. Caps and gowns, said Mrs. You're all getting a cap and gown for graduation, not a cat and gown. No, said Lucille. I heard you say cat. Teacher, I know I did. Mrs. said for Lucille to hush. Then she passed out the boxes to all the children. I looked inside my box real curious. Then I kept looking and looking, because something was not right in there. My cap got run over by a truck, I think, I said. It is a big square flatso. Mrs. laughed. Then she came to my table and she unfolded my cap and she put it right on my head. Hey, what do you know? It fits, I said. After that, all of us put on our own caps and gowns and we skipped all around the room. Only not Lucille, 'cause she was still very upset about the cat issue, of course. Pretty soon, the bell was going to ring, and so Mrs. made us put our outfits back in our boxes. I'm going to let you take these home with you today, she said, but please do not play with them on the bus, and don't play with them at home. These caps and gowns are white, okay? And white material gets soiled very easily. I know it, Mrs., I said. I know white material gets soiled easy, because one time my Grandpa Miller spilled beer on his new white tie, and you can still see beer splots on that thing. Mrs. looked and looked at me. Then she sat back down at her desk, very quiet, and she waited for the bell to ring. Look, there's Lucille. She's in the corner. She's kind of pouting because she didn't get a cat. Chapter 5, $1,000,000. Me and my bestest friend Grace rode the bus home together. We held our boxes very tight on our laps and we didn't open them. We're being careful about our graduation gowns, aren't we, Grace? I said. We're being careful not to soil them. I looked down at my box. I am very proud of us for not opening these things, I said. I am very proud of us too, said that Grace. We rode and rode. I did a sigh. It's too bad we can't just peek at them a little bit, though, isn't it, Grace? I said. One teensy peek wouldn't even hurt anything, I bet. That Grace didn't say anything. I tapped on her. Okay, here's what I'm thinking, Grace. I'm thinking we should do one little peek, and that's all, I said. What do you say, friend? Grace made her voice very loud. No, Junie B, no, we're not allowed to. Can't you follow orders, huh? Do you want to soil these things? I did a huffy breath at her. But peeking will not even soil them, Grace, I said back. Peeking is just looking with your eyes, only faster. Only too bad for me because Grace kept on just saying no, no, no. And so I had to wait and wait for that stubborn girl to get off the bus before I could peek. After she was gone, I looked in my box zippity quick, and what do you know? I didn't even soil anything. I got off the bus and ran to my house. My grandma, Helen Miller, was babysitting my brother. She was feeding him a snack in his high chair. Grandma Miller, I got my cap and gown. It is right here in this box, I said. Would you like me to try it on for you, Grandma? Huh? Would you? Grandma Miller clapped her hands. Of course I would, she said, real thrilled. Try it on right now. Okie doke, I said. Then I quick put on my cap and gown and I danced all around. See me, Grandma? See what I look like? I look like a graduation girl, I said. I hopped around Ollie's high chair. My teacher said not to play in this, but hopping is not the same thing as playing, I said. Just then I heard the front door open, and hooray, hooray! Mother was home early from work. Her whole mouth came open when she saw me. Oh my goodness, she said. Look how cute you are. I know it, Mother. I am cute, I said. I look like $1,000,000 in this getup. I twirled all around in front of her. See me twirling, Mother? Twirling is not the same as playing, I said. After I stopped twirling, I fell down on the floor. Falling on the floor is what comes after twirling. It cannot be helped normally. Mother picked me up. Maybe you should take this off before you get it dirty, she said. No, Mother, no, I said. I want to keep it on. Please let me, please, please. I quick ran to Ollie's high chair and I ducked down behind it. Ollie peeked around at me. He had sloppy on his face. I'm not a sloppy baby like Ollie, I said. I won't get this dirty, I promise. But Mother shook her head. I'm sorry, Junie B, but it's just not a good idea to play in your gown, she said. After that, Mother and Grandma Miller blocked the high chair and I couldn't run away again. Shoot, I said. I am surrounded. Mother took my graduation outfit off of me and she put it back in the box. Then she put the box way on top of the refrigerator where Junie B can't reach it. Let's store it up here for safekeeping, she said. Let's not, I said real growly. Mother made squinty eyes at me. Then she took me by my arm and she marched me to my room, 'cause that woman has no sense of humor, apparently. She shut my door and left. I flopped on my bed, very glum. My stuffed animals were very glum, too. Everybody thinks I am a sloppy baby, but I'm not, I said. I don't think you're a sloppy baby, said my stuffed elephant named Philip Johnny Bob. I don't think you're a sloppy baby either, said my Raggedy Ann named Ruth. My Raggedy Andy named Larry did a sigh. I just wish your mother didn't put that cap and gown box on top of the refrigerator, he said. Me too, said Philip Johnny Bob. I wish you could get it down from there so all of us could see it. After that, I thought and thought. Then I lifted up his soft ear and I whispered, maybe I can. She must have a plan. And that's where we're going to stop today. We are halfway through this book, and if you friends will join me tomorrow, we will read through the other 5 remaining chapters of this book and see what happens with Junie B in her graduation gown. What do you guys think is going to happen? Do you think she'll get it dirty? Or do you think she'll take better care of it? I don't know. We'll find out tomorrow, though. Until then, bye, guys.